Checking in from Newsmax, New York, Nigel Farage, the leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party. Nigel, we thank you for spending some time with us this morning on America's Forum.
Well, thank you for having me.
Nigel, let's talk about the fact that ISIS has beheaded yet another American journalist. We understand now they intend to next behead a journalist from the United Kingdom. How should we respond here? And in your situation in the UK, how do you think the UK should respond?
Well, I think we need to take a little step back. It's just 15 months ago that the British government put before the British Parliament a proposal that we armed the opposition forces in Syria who were taking on President Assad, who we saw as the bad guy. I'm pleased to say that the British Parliament faced down the government and said, no, we shouldn't arm the rebels. Those rebels, of course, have now morphed into ISIS. So just last year, the British government wanted to effectively arm ISIS, and now we have this crisis on our hands. So I have to say that I feel over the last couple of decades, our foreign policy in this part of the world has been confused. We keep changing sides. We don't appear to have any long-term goal or end game. Now, I think this is different in the sense that we can see very clearly with ISIS that they are the bad guys. What do? Do we support the Kurds? I mean, the Kurds have autonomy, but if we support the Kurds, who after all want to be tolerant to Christians and tolerant to Jews, if we do that, we also have to understand that Iraq cannot stay together as a unified state. And that is something that Bush and Blair said they were trying to do back in 2003. So we've got some big thinking to do here. And I would suggest, before we pitch into heavy military action to try and take out ISIS, we think about our long-term goals. Because I'm not convinced, actually, that Obama or David Cameron at the moment have any.
Nigel, it appears actually to be the same executioner in the video, this man with a British accent. Yeah. What does that tell you about the British youth who may be joining these radical terrorists and the actual threat that this might have on the British homeland?
There is absolutely no question that we face a very serious threat in the United Kingdom. We have a new fifth column in our midst. I mean, quite unlike anything we've ever seen before. Yes, I mean, in world wars, we had some people that went off and fought for Germany, but literally a handful. We don't actually know how many Brits are over fighting with ISIS, but it's probably approaching 1,000 people. And that's more Muslims that are actually part of the British Army. So we've got serious problems. A couple of weeks ago, I said, look, it's all well and good the British government taking passports off people they think will go and travel to fight out there. My concern is I don't want these people, British people who fought out there, who have been further radicalised, brutalised by what they've been part of, I don't want them coming back into my country. And so my current stance is on people like Jihadi John, as this chap is called. I don't want them back in my country.
Nigel, as you take a look at the domestic situation in the United Kingdom, you have been somewhat critical of David Cameron, and you just mentioned Tony Blair a moment ago. Obviously, there are challenges politically, but do you see a reconciliation coming within the UK, at least in terms of Cameron's agenda for dealing immediately with ISIS and the British who may be involved there?
Well, I think the problem with David Cameron is that he's very good at making sound bites, and certainly here in New York yesterday, the general media opinion was, wow, isn't it great that David Cameron's being tough and he's saying things and he's doing things. But actually, if you read the small print of what David Cameron said, he said he wants to stop people who fought overseas for terrorist groups coming back into the country. The trouble with David Cameron is he talks big, he doesn't actually deliver. And I have to say, I personally take the view that we have pretty weak leadership. We don't quite know where we're going in terms of foreign policy, and in terms of domestic policy, most of our laws are actually now made by Brussels and the European Union. So I'm at daggers drawn politically with Mr. Cameron, and I feel both under Blair's period and Cameron's period, we act in the short term, we say things. I don't see any long-term global strategy.
And of course, you're part of that EU governing body, but the talk is that your party stands to gain in the by-election for the House of Commons in Britain. About 30 seconds remain. I'll use the acronym UKIP. Is UKIP similar to the American Tea Party?
No, because the Tea Party was fighting from within the Republican movement. UKIP is a brand new political party. We are taking on the UK establishment. As far as we're concerned, they all go to the same schools, they all go to the same colleges, they're all social democrats, they're not patriots, they're not prepared to put Britain first, and we've launched this party. We won the European elections earlier this year. We're about to break into Westminster. Something big is happening in British politics.
And on that note, Nigel Farage, we'll have to end it. We thank you for your insights. We'll keep an eye on our British cousins, and we'll be right back.